Ever wondered why your JavaScript code doesn't execute in the order you wrote it? Or why a single-threaded language can handle thousands of concurrent operations without breaking a sweat? In this video, we will cover JavaScript asynchronous programming practice questions and explanations. Master JavaScript asynchronous programming with this detailed MCQ guide. Welcome to this comprehensive practice guide on JavaScript asynchronous programming. Today, we are diving deep into the event loop, promises, async, await, and the intricacies of the JavaScript runtime to prepare you for high-level certifications and technical interviews. Before we jump into the first question, make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated with the latest in web development mastery. Which component of the JavaScript runtime is responsible for moving functions from the task queue to the call stack? Option A, the heap. Option B, the event loop. Option C, the web API. Option D, the JIT compiler. The correct answer is B. The event loop is a constantly running process that monitors both the call stack and the callback queue. Task queue. If the call stack is empty, the event loop takes the first event from the queue and pushes it onto the call stack, which effectively runs the function. This mechanism allows JavaScript to perform non-blocking I/O operations despite being single-threaded. What are the three possible states of a JavaScript promise? Option A, started, processing, finished. Option B, pending, fulfilled, rejected. Option C, waiting, resolved, failed. Option D, initial, success, error. The correct answer is B. A promise is an object representing the eventual completion or failure of an asynchronous operation. Its states are 1. Pending, initial state, neither fulfilled nor rejected. 2. Fulfilled, meaning that the operation completed successfully. 3. Rejected, meaning that the operation failed. Once a promise is fulfilled or rejected, it is considered settled, and its state cannot change again. Which of the following has the highest priority in the execution order of the event loop? Option A, set timeout callbacks. Option B, set interval callbacks. Option C, promises, microtasks. Option D, I/O tasks. The correct answer is C. In the JavaScript event loop, microtasks, like promise, then, process, next tick, or mutation observer, have higher priority than macrotasks, like set timeout, set interval, or set immediate. After every single macrotask, the engine processes all available tasks in the microtask queue before moving on to the next macrotask. This is why a resolved promises callback will execute before a set timeout with 0 milliseconds delay. What does an async function return by default in JavaScript? Option A, the result of the last expression. Option B, a promise. Option C, undefined. Option D, a generator object. The correct answer is B. An async function always returns a promise. If the function returns a value that is not a promise, JavaScript automatically wraps that value in a resolved promise. If the function throws an error, it returns a rejected promise with that error. This allows you to use then or await on any async function call. What is the correct way to handle errors in an async await block? Option A, using the catch method on the function call only. Option B. Using a try, catch block around the await expression. Option C. Using if, error, throw error. Option D. Async functions handle errors automatically. The correct answer is B. While you can use catch on the promise returned by an async function, the standard and most readable way to handle errors within the function is using try catch blocks. When an awaited promise rejects, it throws an exception that can be caught by the catch block, making asynchronous error handling look and behave like synchronous error handling. Which promise method rejects immediately if any of the input promises reject? Option A. Promise.all. Option B. Promise. All settled. Option C. Promise. Race. Option D. Promise.any. The correct answer is A. Promise.all takes an iterable of promises and returns a single promise that resolves when all of the input promises have resolved. However, if any of the input promises reject, promise.all immediately rejects with the reason of the first promise that rejected, discarding all other pending promises. This is known as fail fast behavior. How does promise race behave? Option A. It waits for all promises to finish and returns the fastest one. Option B. It returns a promise that fulfills or rejects as soon as one of the promises in the iterable settles. Option C. It runs promises in parallel and returns them in an array. Option D. It selects the most efficient promise based on system resources. The correct answer is B. Promise race returns a promise that settles, either fulfills or rejects, as soon as any promise in the provided iterable settles, whether the first one to finish is a success or a failure. Promise race will mirror that result. It is commonly used for implementing timeouts for network requests. Which of these is not a native part of the JavaScript engine? V8, but is provided by the browser environment? Option A, the call stack. Option B, the heap. Option C, set timeout. Option D, variable scoping. The correct answer is C. The JavaScript engine, like V8, handles the stack, heap, and execution. However, asynchronous features like set timeout, DOM events, and fetch are actually web APIs provided by the browser environment, or C++ APIs in Node.js. The engine interacts with these APIs to handle operations that happen outside the main execution thread. What happens to the call stack when an asynchronous web API, like a timer, is called? Option A. The stack pauses until the timer finishes. Option B. The timer function is pushed to the stack and stays there. Option C. The function call is executed. The API starts the timer, and the function is popped off the stack. Option D. The stack is cleared to make room for the timer. The correct answer is C. When you call set timeout, the function itself is executed on the stack. It tells the web API to start a timer. Once the API registers the request, the set timeout call is finished and popped off the stack, allowing the next line of code to run. When the timer expires, the callback is placed in the task queue to wait for its turn back on the stack. Which method should you use if you want to wait for multiple promises to finish, regardless of whether they succeed or fail? Option A. Promise.all. Option B. Promise.any. Option C. Promise. All settled. Option D. Promise. Race. The correct answer is C. Promise. All settled. Returns a promise that resolves after all of the given promises have either fulfilled or rejected. The resulting array contains objects describing the outcome of each promise. Status. Fulfilled, or rejected. Making it ideal for cases where you need to complete all tasks even if some fail. What is callback hell? Option A. A syntax error in nested loops. Option B. The situation where callbacks are nested within other callbacks, making code hard to read and maintain. Option C. A specialized debugging mode in Node.js. Option D. When a callback is called more than once. The correct answer is B. Callback hell, or the pyramid of doom, occurs when multiple asynchronous operations are dependent on each other and are handled using nested callbacks. This leads to code that grows horizontally rather than vertically, making it extremely difficult to follow the logic, handle errors, and maintain. Promises and async await were introduced to solve this. What happens if you use the await keyword outside of an async function in a standard script? Option A. The script runs normally. Option B. The script pauses indefinitely. Option C. It throws a syntax error. Option D. The browser automatically converts the script to async. The correct answer is C. Historically, the await keyword can only be used inside functions defined with the async keyword. Using it elsewhere results in a syntax error. Note: modern environments now support top-level await in JavaScript modules, .mjs files. But in standard scripts or non-module environments, the error still persists. In the following code, what is the order of logs? Console.log 1. Set timeout equals greater than console.log 2. 0. Promise resolve then equals greater than console.log 3. Console.log 4. Option A 1, 2, 3, 4. Option B 1, 4, 2, 3. Option C 1, 4, 3, 2. Option D 1, 3, 4, 2. The correct answer is C. The order is 1. 1 and 4 are synchronous and log immediately. 2. The promise, then callback is added to the microtask queue. 3. The set timeout callback is added to the macrotask queue. 4. Once the synchronous code finishes, the event loop checks the microtask queue first and logs 3. 5. Finally, it checks the macrotask queue and logs 2. How does promise.any differ from promise race? Option A. Promise.any only resolves if all promises resolve. Option B. Promise.any resolves as soon as any promise fulfills, ignoring rejections unless all reject. Option C. There is no difference. Option D. Promise.any is for synchronous code. The correct answer is B. While promise race settles as soon as any promise settles, resolve or reject, promise.any waits for the first fulfillment. If a promise rejects, it is ignored as long as there are other pending promises. If all promises reject, it rejects with an aggregate error. It's useful for requesting data from multiple mirrors and taking the first successful response. Which syntax is used to create a generator function which can be used for manual async flow control? Option A. Function name. Opening curly bracket, closing curly bracket. Option B. Async function name. Opening curly bracket, closing curly bracket. Option C. Function and name. Opening curly bracket, closing curly bracket. Option D. Yield function name. Opening curly bracket, closing curly bracket. The correct answer is A. Generator functions are defined with the function asterisk syntax. They can yield execution multiple times using the yield keyword. Before async, await was standard. Generators were often combined with libraries to handle asynchronous flow by yielding promises, allowing for sequential looking async code. Why is JavaScript often described as non-blocking? Option A. It can run multiple threads of code simultaneously. Option B. It delegates heavy tasks, like I/O, to the system browser, continuing to run other code in the meantime. Option C. It ignores errors and continues execution. Option D. The yield keyword blocks all other operations. The correct answer is B. JavaScript is single-threaded, but it is non-blocking because it offloads long-running tasks, like fetching data or timers, to the browser's web APIs. While the API handles the task, the main JavaScript thread is free to execute other logic. When the task is done, the result is queued to be processed later. What is the purpose of the finally method on a promise? Option A. To catch errors only. Option B. To execute code regardless of whether the promise was fulfilled or rejected. Option C. To terminate the program. Option D. To transform the resolved value. The correct answer is B. The finally method is used to run a piece of code after a promise has settled. Regardless of the outcome, it is commonly used for cleanup operations, such as hiding a loading spinner or closing a database connection, ensuring that these actions happen whether the operation succeeded or failed. What happens to a function execution when it encounters the await keyword? Option A. It freezes the entire browser tab. Option B. It pauses the execution of that specific async function and releases the call stack. Option C. It creates a new thread to handle the rest of the function. Option D. It skips the current line and moves to the next. The correct answer is B. When await is encountered, the execution of the async function is paused. The promise following await is evaluated, and the function's state is saved. Crucially, the call stack is cleared so the main thread can perform other tasks. Once the awaited promise settles, the function is added back to the microtask queue to resume. If you have 3 independent API calls, what is the most efficient way to execute them? Option A. Await each one sequentially. Option B. Use 3 separate try-catch blocks. Option C. Use promise.all to trigger them concurrently. Option D. Call them inside a for in loop. The correct answer is C. If the API calls don't depend on each other, awaiting them one by one is inefficient because the second call won't start until the first one finishes. Using promise.all, call 1, call 2, Call 3 allows the browser to initiate all 3 network requests simultaneously, significantly reducing the total time taken. What is an unhandled rejection in JavaScript? Option A. A syntax error in a catch block. Option B. A promise that was rejected but had no catch handler or try catch block attached to it. Option C. When a server returns a 404 error. Option D. A variable that is undefined. The correct answer is B. An unhandled rejection occurs when a promise is rejected, but the developer has not provided any logic to handle that failure. No catch or try catch. This can lead to silent failures or, in modern environments like Node.js and newer browsers, a warning or process crash. It is a best practice to always handle potential rejections. In a then chain, if the first then returns a value, what does the second then receive? Option A. The original promise object. Option B. Undefined. Option C. The value returned by the first then. Option D. An error object. The correct answer is C. Promises are designed for chaining. Each call to then returns a new promise. If the handler function inside then returns a value, the new promise resolves with that value, passing it as the argument to the next then in the chain. This allows for sequential data transformation. Which of these is considered a microtask in Node.js specifically? Option A. Set timeout. Option B. Set immediate. Option C. Process next tick. Option D. FS. Read file. The correct answer is C. In Node.js, process next tick is a special type of microtask that is actually processed even before other microtasks. Like promises, it is part of the next tick queue and is executed immediately after the current operation completes, regardless of the current phase of the event loop. Does a fetch promise reject if the server returns a 404 or 500 status code? Option A. Yes. It rejects for any NON 200 status. Option B. No. It only rejects on network failure or if anything prevented the request from completing. Option C. Only in strict mode. Option D. Yes. But only for 500 errors. The correct answer is B. The fetch API is unique because its promise does not reject on HTTP error statuses, like 404 or 500. The promise only rejects if the request itself was blocked, e.g., DNS issues or network timeout. To check for successful responses, you must inspect the response OK property or response status after the promise resolves. Which part of the browser environment handles DOM events and user clicks? Option A. The JavaScript engine. Option B. The web APIs. Option C. The call stack. Option D. The microtask queue. The correct answer is B. The web APIs, provided by the browser, handle DOM events. When a user clicks a button, the web API detects the event and places the associated callback function into the task queue. The event loop then picks it up when the call stack is empty. What is the output of console.log, promise, resolve, 5? Option A, 5. Option B, promise less than fulfilled greater than 5. Option C, undefined. Option D, error. The correct answer is B. Promise. Resolve. 5. Creates a promise object that is already in the fulfilled state with the value 5. If you log it directly, you see the promise object itself, not the value 5. To get the value 5, you would need to use then or await. Which syntax is used to iterate over an array of promises sequentially? Option A, for, in. Option B, for await, of. Option C, array, for each. Option D, while. Promises, pending. The correct answer is B. The for await of statement creates a loop iterating over async iterable objects, including arrays of promises. It pauses the loop for each element until the promise for that element resolves, ensuring sequential processing of asynchronous data. How can you cancel a fetch request in modern JavaScript? Option A, fetch, cancel. Option B, using the abort controller API. Option C, setting a timeout to null. Option D, promises cannot be cancelled. The correct answer is B. To cancel a fetch request, you use the abort controller. You create a controller, pass its signal to the fetch options, and call controller abort. When you want to stop the request, this will cause the fetch promise to reject with an abort error. What happens if a microtask recursively adds more microtasks to the queue? Option A, the event loop continues to the next macrotask. Option B, the browser will eventually run out of memory and crash. Microtask starvation. Option C, JavaScript will automatically switch to multi-threading. Option D, the additional microtasks are moved to the macrotask queue. The correct answer is B. Because the event loop is required to clear the entire microtask queue before moving to the next macrotask or rendering. A microtask that infinitely creates more microtasks will starve the event loop. This prevents the browser from rendering or handling user input, effectively freezing the UI. What is the result of returning a value inside a catch block? Option A, the chain remains rejected. Option B, the chain becomes fulfilled with that value. Option C, the program terminates. Option D, the value is ignored. The correct answer is B. Just like, then, the catch method returns a new promise. If you handle an error inside catch and return a value, or nothing, the promise returned by catch is considered resolved, fulfilled. This allows you to provide fallback values and continue a promise chain after an error. What is the primary difference between asynchronous programming and web workers? Option A, asynchronous programming is multi-threaded. Web workers are single-threaded. Option B, asynchronous programming uses the event loop on the main thread. Web workers run on a separate background thread. Option C, web workers can access the DOM directly. Async cannot. Option D, there is no difference. The correct answer is B. Asynchronous programming, promises, etc., allows tasks to be deferred so the main thread isn't blocked, but the callbacks still run on that same single main thread. Web workers, However, provide true parallelism by running a script in an entirely separate thread, allowing for heavy computations without affecting the UI's responsiveness at all. That wraps up our 30-question deep dive into JavaScript asynchronous programming. I hope these explanations helped clarify how the event loop and promises really work under the hood. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and comment below with which topic you want to see next. Don't forget to check the link in the description for the full practice exam. For the complete set of practice questions and a full certification prep course, check the link in the description below.